Hello, I am Paula Bennett and welcome to the final episode of Season 7 of my New Zealand Herald podcast, Ask Me Anything. Now, one thing I've learnt in life, as you all know, is it's never too late to learn something new. So on this podcast, I talk to people from all walks of life to hear about how they got to where they are and get some advice and guidance on some of life's biggest questions. From my final episode, a man that I convinced to come on the podcast after a glass of wine by cornering him at the recent Radio and Podcast Awards. That was clever of me. Leigh Hart has been on the media scene for almost 3 decades. First as That Guy on Sportscafe, and then across a multitude of shows and roles, showcasing his trademark awkward, I'm going to call it awkward humour. Yeah,
I think that's fair enough.
Okay. But it's not all media. He's been involved in sausages, beer and chippies, main things in life, really. Leigh has just returned to Radio Hauraki on Friday afternoons with Paid to Talk. Leigh Hart, welcome.
Well, thanks. You say this is the last episode?
For this season.
Yeah. It took that long to get me on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Scraping at this point, obviously.
Well, you know, I think what I did when I saw you was I went, let's put the heart in Leigh Hart.
Put the heart back into it, yeah.
I think it was probably, I'm sure you've heard every pun possible for your name, have you?
Well, the last TV show I did was called Heartland.
Yes, it was.
So I thought that was quite clever. In fact, it's been used before many decades ago, but yeah.
And when did you, so is it Christopher Leigh Hart?
Yeah, it is actually. And I have no idea why I'm Leigh Hart. My parents just from day one dropped the Christopher, but legally, or, you know, on flights or anything like that, it's still Christopher. So it's got me, there's been some confusing moments. It's actually got me out of a bit of trouble, actually, in the past.
Is it trying to get in or out of something?
Well, yeah, I don't want to go too much detail, but, you know, having that name, it means my name hasn't come up correctly. So, so Christopher Leigh Hart.
But your parents didn't use it?
Yeah, I've asked many times, but my brother's 18 months older. The only feasible version they've given is that my brother couldn't pronounce it.
Oh, yeah,
Christopher
true.
or something. So I don't know why they didn't go to Chris or whatever, but they dropped that and just Leigh. So.
Yeah. No, I like it. That's quite good. So then let's delve a bit into that childhood because it's quite interesting, eh? So tell me a bit about it.
The best way to explain it is that I didn't live in New Zealand for the first 10 years. Yeah. Born on the West Coast, South Island, but left there very young, and I think moved up to North Island initially with my parents to Taupo sort of way. My father was building tunnels, ex-coal miner. He was at this stage.
Like literally tunnelling?
Yeah, literally tunnelling. So,
and back then, would you be tunnelling with, you'd still have machines,
yeah.
but a lot of...
The sort of tunnelling he was doing is similar to today. And it's, you know, that hasn't changed a hell of a lot.
Okay.
He worked on some big projects in New Zealand, of course, but his big break, I suppose, he applied for a job in Hong Kong as like a shift boss or something, and moved the family over there. I was about 2 or 3.
Yeah, and siblings, memories, and so you just
one brother,
just the one brother.
So he probably started school there. I have got memories of kindergarten and stuff there, but it was the early 70s. But it's strange because I'm trying to work out how many of those memories are sort of Kodak memories from the Super 8 footage that we've got that we used to always watch over the years. So, but I do have memories of Hong Kong, and then from there, of course, after that job, moved to Melbourne. I started school in Melbourne. I've got stronger memories then.
So you would have been around 5 years?
Yeah, about 5. So I started school there, and I think we were 2 years in Melbourne. Yeah. And then from Melbourne was the big shift to Peru. And which was, so Dad got a job on this massive project, which was bringing water from the top of the Andes down to the desert to irrigate it. Ah. Yeah, so we were living higher than Mount Cook for, 4 or 5 years.
Wow. And would you be
isolated?
Would you be homeschooling then, I was going to say? Or?
No, there was like a little camp that was built for all us sort of expat families because he was working for a Swedish company, but there was English companies and so forth there. So we had a school, but it's one of those schools where there might be me, my brother, all in the same class, and some 13-year-olds. Yeah. So it worked. The educator was good. They were good teachers, but it probably got to a point where education was starting to be a bit of an issue, I suppose. And not just the education side of it, everything. So they made the decision to, but having said that, it was the most unique time. I've got stronger memories of that than of any other part of my life, if that makes sense. Really, it's quite incredible how strong that is. And I've been back to that place a couple of times as, visiting. It was about a 4-hour drive up the top of the Andes, and this camp is still there. It's all isolated. It's like, there's overgrown. It looks like it's quite eerie, where we lived, but it's all still there, all the wooden houses.
Did it seem weird? Not weird. Did it seem extreme, and did it seem unique at the time? I mean, you must look back now and you go, how many kids live in Peru?
Oh, totally. I don't think we appreciated it at the time. That's why I love going on about it now. I'm sort of catching up with that. It's all we knew at the time. And same with the other kids. We were all there. Their fathers did similar stuff. It was only we would come back to New Zealand occasionally for holidays or this kind of thing. Even that was quite rare. It was just the 4 of us, my parents, my brother. And, obviously I had grandparents back in New Zealand and aunts and uncles. And you'd come back and they would remind you how weird it was and this sort of stuff. But we just couldn't wait to get back. And, I didn't want to leave, but we got sent back to boarding school.
Oh, did you? How old were you then?
About 11.
It's young, eh?
Oh, yeah. And that first year I got sent back to Christchurch. And that was just random. It was Christchurch because I suppose my grandparents were still on the West Coast, so it was close to there. I had aunts and uncles in Christchurch, but they literally went through a phone book or to a lawyer and said, what's a boarding school? They just pulled one out. There was no history. There's no prior family members that had ever gone there.
Wow.
And I think that when I first went there, so I was 10 or 11 years old, I didn't see them again for a year.
Really?
Literally a year.
And you had your older brother.
Older brother, which helped, but it was a real situation where when I look back on it, and we've actually talked to my parents about it since, it was real make or break for them, because if it didn't work out, I mean, there's a lot of kids were homesick. These kids that were living on farms that round in South Island or, even in Christchurch would run away. They hated it. They were, but we just had to make a fist of it, because if we didn't, jeopardy of the whole thing was they would have to probably chuck the job in and come back for us, because we couldn't handle it. So I think there was a bit of pressure on us to handle it. Not that they put it on us. I never remember them saying, you better, that never came up. But I think somehow we took it on board and we just, I don't know, I wouldn't say hardened up. It's not what we just got on with it.
Yeah. And was it a hard environment? I mean, you hear the horror stories of boarding school and because you were, 54?
Yeah. So it's literally at a time.
So we are talking 43 years ago.
Oh, yeah. That was a time, and I use this flippantly, but every day at those boarding schools would have been a whole episode on 7 Sharp. Of every, but it was just normal, and I'm not saying it was right or wrong. It was just, there was it was different times.
Yeah. So you kind of survival, is it?
Oh, yeah, totally.
And then there's all of the hierarchy.
I kind of got off on that survival aspect of it. There's this sort of a POW sort of aspect about it, and especially once we went to the high school boarding school, which was Christ College, and that was pretty strict. We were getting caned. There was this real hierarchy with the year groups. The teachers pretty strict. There was rules for the sake of rules, which were just ridiculous. Yeah. But I just found that rather than, I would sort of rebel against it, I found it amusing, actually. I found that the stricter the environment, the easier it was for me to not stand out, but, to say something stupid or get a laugh kind of thing. It's that whole thing, because it's so strict, as opposed to a total free-for-all environment. It's just, it's crazy. It was just so, I mean, music, for example, when we started there, it was only classical music, only choral music, all this sort of stuff. So God forbid you wanted to be in a rock and roll band. Yeah. But, and which I did, because my father played in a band when he was young. So, we were brought up with music. But, if we were sort of, practicing in a hall or something with music, it was, I remember the music teacher back then, this old man comes running in, blaspheme. And
really?
It's just like, honestly, it was the devil's music.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. Yeah. It was like playing rock and roll in the 50s before it was invented, but this is in the 80s. So, yeah, it was crazy. So, as much as I was in quite a lot of trouble at the time through school, I kind of enjoyed that. Yeah.
And is that when the humour really came through? I mean, was it
so.
Like a lot of comedians say I was shy or I was awkward or I was,
I think I was, and I still am, actually. But there was, you can only go back on reports and stuff, and I found some, fairly recently, and it says things like class comedian gets a few laughs but wouldn't fill the town hall yet. This kind of thing. Okay. So that was the kind of...
Don't you reckon some teachers are so clever when you go look back at them and totally. The little prose that they do is quite clever.
Some of these teachers had been there. They were teaching my friends' grandfathers and fathers, they'd been there. They were part of the furniture. They'd been there since 1930 and some of these, 1940. So they were pretty weird. But then we had some really cool ones. Joe Bennett, the author, he was my English teacher in the last couple of years.
Wow.
And so we got on really well. But it was a strange place. But I wouldn't change anything about it. It's different now.
Yeah.
It's different now. For the better, you would say, in that way. But in many ways, I think if you're paying that kind of money, which it is a private school, you'd expect everything on all the courses except available. I think they've got a media school now, which is better than DVNZ.
Yeah, probably.
And music equipment, you want to be rock and roll, well, there's all the gear.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything like that.
No.
So having to do it on your own terms, I think, was a good lesson in itself.
Did you feel abandoned by your parents, if you like?
No, because we were very close, because when we were together, so what would happen, especially in high school, so from Peru, they moved to Indonesia, and then Malaysia, and then Sri Lanka, and then Saudi, and then, so kind of everywhere. But in the 3 terms back then, in the holidays, we would, by and large, go in the wop-wops of Indonesia for 3 weeks. So it was just quite amazing. So you didn't see them for, in that stage, about 4 months, 5 months. Then you'd see them for 3 weeks. It was quite intense. It was so good to see them. And then you're off again.
Yeah.
So if you asked Mum, I think they felt, especially Mum, that they missed a lot of our sort of growing up, literally, the whole, dare I say it, even, puberty, the whole lot really. 1 minute we're here, 1 minute we're like that, next minute we're out drinking and stuff, So it was a big change for them to suddenly see us. So they probably struggled more, especially Mum.
You would know with your own kids. I mean, they change so much in 6 months, right?
Totally. And you don't want to miss a day. Like you get, nowadays with the kids, you got the Facebook memories come up, and we've got thousands of photos. You can hardly remember most of it because it's almost overkill.
Yeah.
But then it was less is more, I suppose.
Well, and all you had was the odd phone calls because there was no bloody FaceTime.
Even phone calls were a big deal.
Yeah, and expensive, and
And we're going to call you at this time, blah, blah, blah. And then it was a terrible line and a delay, telexes, or, you didn't even, it was no emails, nothing.
Yeah. Collect calls.
You had letters,
Yeah.
You get a letter, it was amazing. So,
That's quite cool.
I just wish I probably wrote more letters now to Mum and Dad, because that was a big deal for them. So, yeah, I think we wind Mum up a little bit, my brother and I, and say, oh, yeah, you abandoned us, whatever. Just to, and she can get quite upset by it in a way. But, she knows she didn't.
No, absolutely.
I wouldn't change a thing.
No. And then you did go to university for a bit, and then were you going to be a tunneler?
I thought you were going to bring that up. No, I went to university for about a year and a half in Canterbury. And I was messing
I've got a lot of stories from that year.
Oh.
In my research, I've rung a lot of people.
It must have packed a lot in. I was there for a year and a half doing a BA kind of thing, but I was jerking around. My plan was that I'd have a lot of fun that first year, go back the second year and, get my stuff together and focus more. But halfway through that second year, or in a few months, my father at that stage was working on the Channel Tunnel over in UK.
Wow, yeah.
So he rang up my brother and I and said, look, it's a massive job. There's about 10,000 guys working on it. I can probably get you guys a job on this, and it's really good money and this sort of stuff. And at the time, it was a good call. So we went over there, and that was, again, that's like someone else's life.
Yeah.
Again. So I wasn't working with him, thank God. It was a big job. He was running a whole area outside the tunnel. And my brother and I were in different parts inside the tunnel. There's 3 different tunnels, so you could be in a number of different places. But that was really formative as well. So I was probably one of the youngest guys on it. I was about 19, 20 when I started on it. And you're working with all these, Welsh, Irish, Northern English miners, real hard men, but great sense of humour as well. Real raconteurs, funny people, work hard, play hard. There's shift work where you're out drinking at 3 a.m, but that's when you go out. That's when, and then you go to work at 11 the next day, this sort of stuff. So there's so many different shifts. It was kind of like the whole town, Dover and Folkestone, the towns where the tunnel were. It was kind of like the Yukon kind of gold rush era, I suppose. It must have been like that, whereas just full of crazy people, and, it was amazing, actually.
Yeah. What an experience.
Yeah.
So how long were you there for?
I was about 3 years, but...
Oh, that's a long time.
And then I moved on to another tunnel, like a normal road tunnel after that. But I wasn't really cut out for it. My brother probably was. He could have stuck at it. He's quite practical. He's a lot more like my father, you know. He can fix stuff and do stuff, and I was dreaming, really. You know, you'd miss the train into the tunnel one day. You have to walk, you know, through this empty, huge tunnel under the sea.
Yeah.
There's water trickling down. And you're just thinking about all the stuff. It helped me to sort of think about what I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to what I did want to do. And I think that's just important, you know,
It
just
is.
getting rid of those things. So, yeah, I think, when I say dreaming, I kind of was, but you got to be bloody careful doing that in there, because you dream too much, step onto the track.
I was going to say, you lose a limb, right?
Yeah, well, Dad did. He, not in that tunnel, he in Sri Lanka, I think it was Sri Lanka, he lost his leg below the knee. That's before the Channel Tunnel. Wow. Yeah, in an accident, sort of like.
I didn't know that when I made that quote.
Oh, no, that's fine. No, but
that could have been a really bad joke.
In the Channel Tunnel, you wouldn't lose it. It would be, you'd be dead. I think there's
over.
about 4 guys did die that exact way.
Yeah.
I think.
So then you decided film, TV, and you're
I was always
performing in the
playing
band.
music. I was playing with music with my brother over there, and I played music at school. And we had a mate from school who moved over. So we started a band together. Then we went back to New Zealand and played as a band for a couple of years in Christchurch. You know, go to the West Coast and Ashburton with the South Island kind of thing. But playing 4 or 5 nights a week, sort of a covers band. You know, and we took it pretty seriously, especially me. I thought, this is my calling. You know, I look back at it now, I was going, shit, what was I thinking? But took it very seriously, and we thought, I didn't anyway, want to do things by halves. Like, if we're going to do this, we've got to really big and, you know, this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So we worked
You
hard.
need to be the next Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, that's it. Why not? You know, and at that age, the beauty is you're naive enough and stupid enough to give it a go.
Yeah.
You know, and I was always of the thinking that, you know, I'd rather give it a go. It was a 99% chance you're not going to make it, and 1% chance you will, rather than being 35 looking back and going, well, what if I did do it? You know, and just want to get rid of regrets, if nothing else. So we saved up and moved back to Edinburgh, where I'd been briefly before that, and we played in Edinburgh for a while on the circuit there, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And being foreigners and pre-internet sort of days, we're bullshit artists. We said we won the New Zealand Music Awards and this sort of stuff, and I don't even think there was such a thing back then. And so we'd get on the radio and that there and get all these interviews and stuff just by lying, because they can't check it.
No.
You know? So we got a whole lot of gigs that way as well. From there, we moved to France and started playing ski resorts in the winter. That'd be pretty pointless in the summer as well.
Not a lot of people around, but yeah.
We got the summer. We got this winter ski resort. So we'd ski during the day, and this guy, you know, he gave us accommodation and stuff, and we played at his bar and other bars. So we're there for, you know, the sort of season. We met up with Jimmy Barnes over there and played with him.
Yeah.
We thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Until we got deported. So we got arrested. I think it was
in France.
I think it was the night after we played with Jimmy Barnes, actually, and we had noise complaints up to that point and vehicle complaints, a few things. And eventually the gendarmes pulled us over, sort of arrested us. And there's 3 of us, but they said, okay, you're getting deported. One of you can stay out and get all your gear shipped back. The other 2 have to go to jail for 2 weeks or however long it takes to us to
get you out. Yeah.
So we went to Lyon. And
did you opt for jail?
I don't think we had I think they told us who was going for it. And it was made more sense that Greg would sort that out. And Matt and I, we ended up in Lyon in this prison. And he was quite worried. He was a bit younger than me. I'm like, we're going to go to jail. It's going to be scary. Yeah. And I was like, no, don't worry about it. It's just going to be like an immigration place.
Yeah.
It'll just be like a departure lounge. We can't leave. We arrive there and it looks like Colditz. It's like, and this building, I've since researched it, was actually used during the war by the Nazis as like a Gestapo kind of prison.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and now
you're in prison.
Oh yeah. So that's an immigration prison. So everyone else there was from, I suppose, Northern Africa. I suppose, victims of bloody, France's, colonial past, I suppose. And they were overstayers, or they had families, everything in France. They don't want to go back to where they were from.
No.
There's probably a war going on.
Yeah.
By this stage, we kind of just wanted to get.
Yeah, you must go home. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had. It could be exaggerated now. It keeps going up, but I think it's about 10, 12 days in there, and that was full on, but after a while,
everything finds its rhythm. Whether
I started writing. Had nothing else but all these documents in French about our legal situation, whatever.
Yeah.
So I just flipped it over and had a pen, and I started jotting it all down like in a real-time journal, like a comedic sort of journal, which I later tried to turn into some sort of book. And I think after that we kind of wanted a break from each other, from in the band. We sort of, so we went back to Christchurch, and I thought, well, I might have had a friend that went to film and TV school or something in Christchurch, and I said, okay, I'll give that a go. I did that for a year, and it was, I won't mention the course, but it was a waste of time. Other than it taught me that actually I'd quite like this sort of stuff, or I might actually be better at this than I was at music, kind of thing. I somehow thought I might have had some sort of skill. So from there, you have to move either to Wellington or to Auckland. So I moved to Auckland and started working behind the scenes and making coffee.
So how did you come up with the concept of That Guy? Because like everyone will think that that's you, right? But it's actually, is it a character, or there's always elements of yourself?
Yeah, I think what it was, I was working at Greenstone Pictures, a legitimate production company, as a researcher, sort of writer, young, I was late 20s, I suppose. Doing sort of serious TV, not on camera. And Sportscafe was on, and I used to watch it. And Mark, he came to my flat once, and he was trying to get my flatmate actually to go on the show as a fake guest, because there's always someone that didn't show up. Yeah. And he wasn't that keen, and he said, I'll go and ask Leigh, he'll probably do it. And I said, oh, God, okay. Next thing I know, Mark and I are driving to Sky Studios, it was then. I didn't know Mark that well then, but we had a lot of mutual friends. Yeah. And it must have been his idea, but I had to sort of pull it off. So all I had was a Tupperware container full of snails, about 5 snails in it. And the gag was, and Lana, no one else knew that I was a fake guest, that I was off to Las Vegas or something for the snail racing champs, this kind of thing, So I went on there, and I'm in a tracksuit and stuff, and I'm trying to pull it off and trying to be straight as possible, which is an ongoing dry. I suppose I've tried to keep that going throughout. And it was a chaotic thing, and it obviously went down okay, because Rick, a couple of weeks later, said, "Shit, well, do you want to come?" He learned I was in TV anyway. Do you want to come and do a regular thing? Yeah. And back then, there was a guy before me, a mate of mine, Ben, who was the human cannibal, Oh, yeah. So everyone had these names, these handles, and I didn't want to be given, maybe I took myself too seriously, or I didn't want to be given a silly name, like, hey, this week, the human cannibals, it was a sort of an ego thing, I suppose. So I kind of put off offering a name. So I think Rick, in a meeting, we're having a meeting, goes, so, okay, what's that guy going to do this week then? And somehow that kind of stuck. Yeah. For better or for worse, because it's very easy for someone driving past at 60k to, oh, that guy. They're trying to think of your name, but they can easily remember that. So it kind of backfired on me, because I ended up having a
memorable name.
Yeah. So, and then that just carried on like that, and I think what would happen in the holiday with the Sportscafe would have a break after 40 episodes or something for 10 weeks or so, and I went to Sky and said, shit, well, if I made a whole lot of stuff, could I and got the money together, could I put a show on? And then they said, okay, if and that was how that sort of started.
Yeah. Heaps of fun. Yeah. And so Sportscafe, because I interviewed Rick actually. Which was just what a brain, eh? I mean, that man is just, part mad, part genius, part, all the rest of it. So I just love the discipline actually, and the insights and things. But so you enjoying it, It's a bunch of mates that sit around and yarn, isn't it?
As you know, it ended up, winning this podcast award the other day, which isn't the proper show, of course. It's a rehashing, it's a reinvention of the original show, and I was taken by surprise because I was at the awards, no one else was, so I had to obviously run up and grab it, and I had nothing to say. But if I was going to say something now, because if that's how you leave, you go, I wish I'd said that, was that it was just friendships, that we all kept in touch. We were all friends. We would, and it's an excuse to get back together. There's no real thought goes into it. It's just 4 or 5 people who get on hanging out and having a laugh. And all the early comedy, especially that I was doing, was always that. It was just doing stuff that would make your mates laugh, never thinking too much beyond that. You know, what would make yourself laugh and your friends. And don't worry, because my mum, she doesn't get anything on it. She goes, why do you do that? Why don't you do a serious documentary for a change? Which is fair enough, but you just can't help yourself. You just want to,
I love it. You're also back with Hauraki doing the paid tour. So what do we?
I haven't been paid yet, but it must be a monthly invoicing thing.
Must be. So what do we get in that hour?
Well, that's on 3 to 4 on Fridays. Yeah. So I used to do the drive show, which is 4 to 7 every day, which I don't think I could handle now.
It's a lot of time.
Well, it is, and it wasn't so much the time that I struggled with, because I used to love it with JS and Matt and that doing it, but you were we did about 5 years, so probably more. And there's not a lot of hours in the day, but you're kind of stuck there. Your week is dictated by that. You just can't disappear for a week and go and make a TV show or go overseas. If you want to take a 2-week holiday, Jace has to do it at the same time. And then you were asking permission all the time, almost from a school teacher, to take a day off so you can go and do some other work, for Hellers or something. So I got a little bit, I just wanted to get back into TV and that sort of stuff. So
your 1 hour's good.
It's great. It suits me perfect.
And 3 to 4's great,
right?
And
I'm doing it with Matt Ward, who I used to do, and it's, again, just mates having a bit of a laugh.
Good.
If anything, I'm actually struggling with the hour a little bit to kind of condense it without it sounding too, trying to get a balance of something sounding natural and not too gaggy, I suppose.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But it's fun.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about being a businessman and delve a bit more into that and try and give people some advice. Welcome back to Ask Me Anything. My guest today is Leigh Hart. Right, now we're going to talk about running your business over the years because, has it been clever and deliberate?
No. I think once you're doing it, it's deliberate. You go in a direction and then you want to make it work, I suppose. But it started with beer, I think, first, purely as a thing to keep myself busy when I wasn't doing a TV show. Yeah. Because you're always between.
That's the Wakachangi beer. Yeah. For those who are listening that haven't.
Yeah.
But
that's that.
There were the odd non-beer.
And that kind of took off, and that was fine. And then from beer, I morphed into chips.
But to be fair, Leigh, that was 2016, right? So you're still going 9 years later, which is quite something.
Oh, yeah, but I've kind of moved out of the beer into the chips now. But yeah, you're right. It's I didn't think it was going to be so successful.
Do you think at some level it's knowing that consumer, and we were looking for something that is Kiwi and that we can be proud of that brand, and it was a bit different and it fit with your sense of fun?
Totally. So it's an instinctive thing. So rather than people go, oh, it's his brand, that's why they're going to buy it, I don't think that was the case at all, because I think plenty of people that would have, I'm going to talk about the chips now as well especially, hopefully they don't know who the hell I am and they still buy it because it resonates with them, the sort of the attitude, I suppose. Yeah. So really, I find it quite easy to put myself in the position of the consumer, and I think that's what everyone has to do no matter what they're doing, rather than thinking what do they want from me kind of thing. No, what do they want, full stop, is how you got to think. And at that time with beer, if I remember rightly, I was thinking that it was getting a bit pretentious and there's all this that, and almost was getting like wine to a degree. So I thought,
or the current day gin.
Yeah, exactly. So so it was very easy to sort of strip that back, and I think our catchphrase was quite nice beer. In other words, it's all right. Yeah. It's not the best. It's great. It's beer. It's so subjective anyway. Just, it's good. There you go, drink it.
Yeah, you like it or you won't.
Yeah.
It's
don't overthink it. And
good on you.
That sort of attitude kind of took with the chips too, but I would argue that they are kind of more quality. Yeah. Sets them apart as opposed to my input,
Okay, I like that. Let's touch on the many shows and the different forms of content you've created, but you've never sold the rights.
Yeah, well, I was lucky because at the time it wasn't really appreciated enough by the powers that be, I don't think, back then. So the options were TVNZ and TV3, of course, years ago. I was pitching stuff and they'd give it, and they'd be on at 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night. But looking back now, people actually watch TV then a little bit. Yeah. What the benefit of that was they didn't care about the rights. I could own those, which at the time didn't mean anything, but now it kind of does, because that's all that counts, is owning that content, so I can use it how I like. Yeah. I can on-sell it. I probably haven't done enough with it as much as I should have, and maybe that's a project coming up where I can maybe really work out how I can maximize that a little bit more. But that was purely because TVNZ didn't care.
Yeah.
You know?
And you didn't utilise New Zealand on air funding, is that right?
No, a couple of times I did. So I'd be wrong if I said that. So I was lucky enough to get New Zealand on air funding. But the whole process didn't resonate with me. I suppose I'm quite impatient. I don't like waiting for permission to do something.
Yeah.
Like, a band, well, start a band.
Yeah.
If I start a business, don't wait for someone to tell you how to do it. Unfortunately, back then, of course, if you want to be a TV show on TVNZ, at least they have to say yes.
Yeah.
So I accepted that. But then to jump through another hoop and let some other committee who've got, I wouldn't say agendas, but they've got a lot of things to choose from and, to say yes or no, that's good or bad, and then you twiddle your thumbs for another 6 months if you don't get funding, or do you just go and get it made somehow?
Because you controlled that product, that process, right?
Totally. But I was just amazed back then how few people, talented people, were almost in a cycle of, they weren't trying to make TV shows, they were in the business of getting funding. If you want to make a TV show, make it. You'll find a way to make it, especially nowadays. Cameras, everything's there. But look, seemed to be a lot of people that were waiting for permission, professional proposal writers, waiting for government funding to say, yes, that's good enough. You've got permission to go and make a show. Where you go. If I got rejected, it wasn't going to stop me. I'd get it funded somehow, or even prior to getting rejected, don't even apply. I got to the stage where I didn't have the patience or the work ethic, I think, to do all the proposal process. I just wanted to get on with it. I was too excited.
And you sort of touched on it that, as you say, there's, cameras in different ways and more accessible. But in some respects, TV, of course, is so much harder, and we're seeing the demise, ask me how concerned I am about elections next year, that we've got one one news outlet that people are getting, one view from, and we're not getting that context. But anyway, that's me going down my own.
I feel sorry for young kids now. I wasn't even a kid when I was older when I got into TV, which I'm pleased because I had life experience when I got in there and I could bring that a little bit. But, they've got all the gear. They've got cameras now on phones, which are better than the stuff we had for full TV shows. They can make stuff, and a lot of really gifted kids, it goes out there, a few thousand people see it, but it's gone again, Back then, you're on TV. That's how people even know your face now, because you were kind of on TV at the time when, certainly with the older generation, that if you did something the night before, they'd talk about it the next day on TV. You see what happened last night on that show? Now everyone's watching shows at different times.
So much content, right?
You just get lost among all the content. I'd hate to be making it. I am. But starting off like that now would be tough. Yeah.
Would be really tough, eh? Yeah. It's the flash in the pan, right? It's literally my
and you're chasing yourself. You did
off.
that, the next day you've got to do another. It's this TikTok thing of 20-second attention spans, kind of like, I couldn't be making content like that.
And do you worry about the state of our kind of media at the moment and think about where it's going to be in 5 years and the effects of AI? And
I do worry about AI. I was having a conversation with my brother about it. I'm guilty of being on my phone, going through reels, whatever, and you got all these Donald Trump videos, and that half of them are so real. Yeah. And because he's talking such rubbish a lot of time anyway, and the clever ones are only a little bit further, the fake ones, and you go, what is real? What's fake? And if we're struggling to get it, kids who have just grown up, that's all they've ever got, how are they going to know what's real? And with history, you get these things now, 1910, footage before they went on the that wasn't, or a photo of Hitler standing with so-and-so. Yeah. And he never was standing with so-and-so. So history is literally getting rewritten. Wow, yeah. And that stuff really annoys me and worries me.
Because in the past it just used to be the written word that could be fake, if you like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then they get called out for it and the integrity of it. And
you do a fake spoof video with changing footage and everything, but now it's all unfortunately, it's just all online. So if you type in a thing, it's just going to come up anywhere. It's not going to be sitting in the spoof files or on the fake files. It's all there. So somehow, a kid who's not born yet is going to be looking at stuff in 10, 15 years' time. And how are they going to the fact that everyone talks about the moon landing being fake and stuff now, you know, yet Bigfoot is real. It's annoying.
It's crazy, eh? Let's talk a bit about reinvention, because I kind of know a bit about reinvention. How much have you reinvented yourself, or has it been a deliberate and sort of a natural progression?
I don't think I've ever reinvented myself. Most stuff I've done is it's the same person, but it's exaggerated one way or another. For that sort of TV show, it's a sort of it's still the same person, but you're being a little bit more, you know. I don't think I've reinvented myself. So everything's actually quite, you mentioned like the business stuff, like the chips, but all the copy on the chips I write. I find that the same release that I'm having when I'm writing a script or the TV show or something. So it's just a different sort of format. I don't think I've ever reinvented myself.
So do you see opportunities, or do you take them?
I take them less and less, actually. I used to have this attitude, you know, if you get an opportunity, just do it.
Say yes and then work
it's
it
like,
out later.
You know, they used to say, cross that bridge when you get to it. I used to say, cross that bridge, we'll blow up that bridge when you get to it. Don't worry about it if you don't have the skills. Just say yes and worry about it later. I think now I'm probably a bit guilty of, because that's the advice I used to give to young people. If you just do it, you know, you're not going to regret it. But now maybe because you're older and, you know, I do find myself having an idea and not following through on it as much as I would have in the past, which I'm not too fussed about because you don't have to follow up on as many things.
No.
But at the same time, it's got to a stage where I'm starting to think, hold on, maybe I should have done that, or maybe I should have gone out of my comfort zone a bit more or something, you know. Maybe I haven't reinvented myself enough, you know.
Well, there's not many people that are going to look back and not think that really at some level.
I don't have too many regrets, put it that way. But I sometimes it's easy to give advice, but sometimes you need to take your own advice. Like when you're giving it to someone, I find myself hearing it and go, you know what? I'm actually talking to myself here.
Oh, yeah, I do that.
You know, as you're going, yeah, what you should do. Actually, you know what you should do.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Do it.
Yeah. What you should be doing is, and then I'm thinking, God, you're a hypocrite.
Exactly.
As you're sitting on the couch tonight,
But I suppose I'm not reinventing myself now, but I've made a conscious effort to slightly, let's get out there a bit more and start doing radio again, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have to do that.
No.
I thought it'd be fun. And as you know, certain opportunities lead to other opportunities.
Yeah. Is creating still your great passion?
Totally. Because people go, I haven't seen you for ages, or this sort of stuff. But it doesn't feel that way for me because I'm always filming something, but it might be an online thing for Howlers, or it might be a video clip for the Chips. So I'm always out with a cameraman doing stuff. So I feel like I've been doing the same stuff. It's the same discipline involved.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the mediums that people are used to, seeing, I suppose. But so I like to do a TV show each year if I can.
Do you ever feel like you cross the line as far as more that TV or that? I mean, you possibly cross the line by staying illegally in a country that you shouldn't have been in. But
never intentionally. No, I don't think I've ever done. A lot of people say now that Sportscafe has come back, you wouldn't get away with that stuff nowadays that you did, or on TV, or that gag, that skit. But it's almost like people imagine that we're going out of our way to shock people, because no, we were just doing stuff that made us laugh then, and just the same as now.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think. The only time I felt I crossed the line was I did an interview with Sportscafe with Murray Walker, who's a legendary Formula, racing personality in UK. He's passed away now. So he's an elderly guy, a bit of a legend. He was over here doing a book tour, and my story was that week I interviewed him at a hotel. It's like this, microphones. And I thought, I've got to make this amusing. So I made out I was staying at the hotel the night before and I'm interviewing him. So we're in the lobby of the hotel and I had a mate acting, and we used 2 cameras for the first. Normally we're just using the one. So in other words, we did it in such a way that it's happening in real time. It's almost the most Borat-ish thing I've ever done, which I don't normally do it like that.
Yeah.
It's quite sort of ambush TV type thing. And it was quite lighthearted. It was all on me. But the idea was I'm interviewing him. Then the hotel manager, which is my mate, acting, would come over and interrupt the interview and go, excuse me, Mr. Hart, enjoy your night, did you, in your hotel room last night, did you? Can you please empty your pockets? And I've got like all the mini bar bottles.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm doing this in real time in front of him, trying to keep straight face. Matt's trying to keep straight face, and we're getting his reactions for real.
Yeah.
And he's like feeling really awkward for me, like this loser interviewer.
Yeah.
And then it gets worse, and the guy keeps coming out with more and more things, like an inflatable doll for my room and stuff. And it was all on me. I looked like an idiot, got the interview out, and I learned later from his agent he wasn't happy with it. He wasn't aware, and because normally they'll in on it slightly with me, or they know who I am in New Zealand, and I would go.
So it doesn't surprise them.
Yeah, I'd say, Paula,
like,
look,
I'm going
to ask a few stupid questions, don't worry about it, we'll edit later, you'll be fine. There's that element. I didn't do that with him, and I felt really bad afterwards because it's the first time I ever did that approach, and it's not my style, and it was very funny, but it upset him, so I didn't care if it was funny or not. I didn't want to air it, if you know what I mean. It didn't feel right, and I sent him a bottle of wine and stuff.
Yeah. And did you air it?
Oh yeah, no. No, we didn't actually. I actually said to Rick, I'm not happy about this. I think we did air it later when not many people were watching after the fact, but and I think he kind of got it later. But as I say, it was just out of character. So that's the only time I felt I stepped over the line. Everything else was, I could have made that funny. It wasn't,
Sure.
But no, that's the only time.
Yeah. So would you advise some budding young, aspirant to get into TV?
Well, like you said before, what is TV? Like, kids don't know what TV is now. It's a screen, isn't it? So getting into media, I don't understand what it is. I don't think... I wouldn't advise them to go and do a course and do it. No. I don't think you need to. I think you can learn it on the job now. Yeah. But if you want to do it, just do it. Yeah. Start filming stuff, start talking to people, get mates, like-minded people, and start, it's like a band, and just do it. Yeah. I don't think the channels of going to radio school, film school, all that sort of stuff, I don't think are as relevant now. There's YouTubers out there that are making millions. They didn't go to film school. No. Another one's making the real money. Yeah. But then again, I wouldn't advise them to just copy that, be original. I
was going to say, I want some originality.
Yeah, exactly. So,
because it's kind of that formula. It all feels a bit,
Yeah, I don't think there's the sort of the whole thing now, like, every industry. I do remember, like, Mum, for example, was always worried when I was in the media industry, especially I was self-employed literally for 25 years now, I suppose. Everything I've done has been through my own production company and stuff. But I remember Mum a few times would go, why don't you get a proper job at TVNZ or something like so-and-so? Why don't you get a so-and-so? Yeah. And at the time I was going, well, no, I like doing what I'm doing. And the irony, I suppose, is that all those people now are most insecure in their jobs, and I feel really
if they're already redundant,
and I really feel for them. It would be a bad time to be. There's only so many jobs, and you say everything else is only going to make it worse. So you really have to look after number one yourself somehow.
Yeah, good on you. Okay, lastly for this segment, I'd like to know what is some of the best advice you've been given, and who gave it to you.
Always do sober what you said you'd do drunk. And that will teach you. That will teach you to keep your mouth shut.
Oh, no, Jesus! That's great. But that's like that meme that goes around. Don't take up with sober me what drunk me said. I have no responsibility for it. Okay, well that's completely
I don't know who told me that, but I've always enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like that.
The one piece of advice I kind of, which I think uses for anything, you can use for anything. I'm not sure who told me this. I may have come up with it. I'm not sure. But it works in personal situations when you're going through a tough time. It works in any situation. Is whatever's happening in your life, pretend you're in a movie and you are your character, all right? And you're watching your character on the screen, the film theatre. How would you want him or her to behave? So just say you're going through a marriage breakup. Yeah. How do you want your character in the movie? Do you want him to look cool and behave this way? Or do you want him to look like a dick and no one likes your character anymore? So if you take yourself out of it and look back in, and you think of any situation, be it work or personal, if you can somehow remove it, and you can't do it all the time because you're sometimes too close to it, but if you can sometimes take the time to look back in, it's very hard to make the wrong move because we know what characters on screen we know how we'd like them to behave.
Yeah,
in a
and
perfect
you're a
world.
very visual person, right? So, and I am too, so I can visualise and I hear what you're saying. It's quite interesting. I was listening to a podcast in the weekend, and one small part of it, and they just said, you are the sum of your choices.
Yeah. That's it.
Which is, like, but you've got a lovely visualization alongside of that.
Yeah.
Just sort of step away.
I suppose it's quite a self-indulgent thing because you're picturing yourself in the movie. You're the star of the movie. Doesn't what sort of movie it is. Is it a love story?
Yeah,
Is it an action movie? Are you losing your job in that movie?
Yeah.
Is that the situation? Okay, how are you going to perform in that office when you're losing your job? How do you want to? You want to go, God, that was cool. How we handled that.
Yeah.
You want to be cool somehow.
And proud of yourself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
Okay, Leigh, the podcast is called Ask Me Anything.
Yes.
And I've done all the asking. So this is your opportunity that you can ask me something if you want to.
I was going to ask if you had any regrets, but I think that's just too general, isn't it? Like, if I can squeeze two questions, do you have any regrets leaving politics, by the way?
Oh, no.
No, okay.
I mean, everyone has to have, you may not call it, I don't think I sit there and go, I've got so many regrets, so I probably wouldn't use the word, but you've all got things that you would do differently or things you wish you hadn't said or, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
The movie character comes in.
Yeah. It's like, oh, God, I made a dick of myself. But at some stage as well, I've got a fairly thick hide and I can kind of go, I made a dick of myself. I'm not the first. I sort of have this saying that says, you don't die of embarrassment, it just feels like it.
Yeah.
Depending on how bad it is, what I mean? Like, and so...
it's worse than dying sometimes.
Yeah. So there's a couple of times where I've just absolutely kicked myself, but then gone, you know what? I hurt myself more than anyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Get on with
and
right?
again, it's a perspective. But in a politics sense then, is there room in this day and age in New Zealand, and you mentioned with the media side of it, which would be a big part of it, for, I was going to say, another political party?
Oh, that's interesting.
That could come in, call it a common sense party, maybe it deals with green issues, but actually focuses on green issues as opposed to all the social stuff, and it's common sense party, or would that party just be splitting the votes, taking votes from the other?
It's been quite interesting watching the Teals in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
And that's more independent and that sort of thing. So I have been thinking, is there room for that sort of independence a little bit more? But that could get quite swallowed. At the end of the day, we're, and I don't mean conservative in the way of politics, but New Zealand would kind of go, there's probably 35% that are going to vote left no matter what, 35% they're going to vote centre-right no matter what. And then really you're playing with that 30% and the divide up of that and how it gets there. So, so many have tried, right? And they're different and wacky ways.
Oh, and it can affect their result, but they never seem to survive.
It is a crowded field, though.
Yeah.
It really is. But I do think that an independent could. I reckon that there's...
Especially nowadays with social media. The cost of it's actually less now than it would have been back in the day.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You could do it, if social
media.
Well,
I don't want to be even, many years ago when Chloe Swarbrick ran for mayor, she didn't get it, but she was all of what, I don't know, I'm making this up, but 22 or 23 years old and probably spent $10 on it. No, because she just did it all via social media.
Well, yeah, we've seen that populist kind of politics now, in America, it's all about that,
Yeah, so it's quite interesting.
Because
if you start a party, let me know, because I'd be a great campaign manager.
I think, be careful what you wish for. There'd be too many skeletons in the closet, I think this is
what I would say is, do you know what I do think we need in politics?
Yeah, but
is a bit more frickin' mongrel.
Well, this is the problem. I think it scares people off. There's too many potential people, not about myself, that would be too scared to go in, because you'd have to start the whole thing with a press conference with a list and hand out to all the media. Have I done this? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Have I done this? Yes, I have. All right, let's get on with it.
Yeah, I know. But also we just need a bit more. Leigh Hart, thank you for coming in today. If people want more from you, then they've got to listen to Radio Hauraki 3 till 4. We were saying,
it's a podcast as well.
And then this podcast, and then we've got Sportscafe.
Yep,
we've dropped the ish, which I like.
Have we? I don't know.
I
Yeah,
thought
hope so.
I read
I don't
something.
know.
Yeah, anyway. Okay, that's it for another episode and another season of Ask Me Anything. Here's hoping that we get to come back again. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow Ask Me Anything on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you check out some of our past fabulous guests because there have been heaps of them. And a huge thank you for listening this season. I have loved bringing it to you. We'll be back later this year and with a whole new range of new people to chat to. I'm Paula Bennett. Ask Me Anything. Goodbye.